this video, we are going to be talking about the best deck heading into Age of Overlord and the best way to play it. Alright guys, so now getting into the video, I'm sure you guys saw from the title, it is going to be a Rescue Ace deck prop post AGOV. Now of course, before we start the video, leave a like guys, let's try and get 3 likes on the video, and of course subscribe and check out all the links down below. But starting off with the deck profile guys, it is going to be 3 Rescue Ace Hydra. Now this is the heart and soul of the deck. There is an argument to be made that you can play 2 of this card, specifically because the Sinful Spoil engines help you tutor out this card, but Heart Opening Hydrant just makes it so that you have other lines of plays as well, so he is really good. So that's why I'm going to say you play 3 of him. Now his effect is this: while you control a Rescue Ace monster other than Hydrant, your opponent's monsters cannot target this card for attacks. Also, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. You can activate a quick play spell or trap card that was set by the effect of your Rescue Ace card the turn it was set, and during the main phase you can add 1 Rescue Ace monster from your deck to your hand. So like I said before, he's really good. He's really nice that he has protection as well, because if you end up setting up a Rescue Ace monster before you summon a Hydrant, it protects you from imperm, things of that nature. And again, if you guys have seen my combo videos, I'm gonna put them somewhere up there. He is really important, being able to activate the card you set that turn, so it is really good in that regard. I wish he kind of had the effect where, like, if you had 2 Hydrants you can attack, kind of like Solar Flare Dragon, but I mean, it is what it is, right? Solar Flare Dragon, yeah, in 2023 by the way. But moving on guys, we are talking about the other best card in the deck. It is going to be Rescue Ace Airlifter. Now Airlifter is pretty good. Not only is he a fire warrior, you know what I mean, but he's pretty good because he says this: if this card is normal or special summon, you can add 1 Rescue Ace spell from your deck to your hand. When your opponent activates a monster effect on the field, you can tribute this card from your hand or face up on the field, special summon 1 Rescue Ace monster from your hand. Except himself, you can only use each effect once per turn. Now again, he's really good because he is the starter. Because Hydrant himself isn't really a 1-card combo, because Hydrant's going to get you a card if you normal summon him, and you already use normal summon, and then emergency contribute to get, you know what I mean? So it's a weird little loop that you have, but there are ways of getting it. But Airlifter is a really good important part of the deck as well, like a core part of the deck. So again, you know what I mean? So he is really important in that regard, being able to get you any spell card, and all the spell cards are very powerful. Then having the additional effect where you can summon one from hand, that effect you're not going to be using as much, but again, you can still use him. He is really good. Being a level 4 is super crucial as well. Then moving on to another card is going to be Rescue Ace Impulse. Now I was kind of juggling between 2 or 3 of this card. I definitely don't think you play this card at once specifically for this. So it has an effect that says during your main phase you can target 1 effect monster your opponent controls the highest attack, new player can activate that monster effect. So that card is really good, right? So it's better going second, of course, but this card is really good because it says this: when your opponent activates a monster effect on the field, tribute this card from your hand or face up on the field. So note that it can be tribute from the hand as well, kind of like hand trap. Pass summon 1 Rescue Ace machine monster from your deck. Now you guys will see exactly what I'm talking about. Now if this card has an effect where, like, for example, if it said, oh, if you activate a Rescue Ace monster this turn or this effect or whatever, summon a monster from your deck, it'll be a lot better. The fact that he has to respond to your opponent's card is like, but I mean, he's still an interruption nonetheless. And if you end up opening your other extenders and you already have a Hydrant grab Impulse is pretty good. I'm just playing him at 2 specifically because if you don't open him, he's not a bad draw. So that's why you want to play 2, because you still want to see the card, you know what I mean? Not all the time, but sometimes, you know what I mean? It's terrible, but that's the reason why you play him at 2. And then another card that works very well with Impulse is going to be Rescue Ace Preventer. Now this card says this: you can banish 1 Rescue Ace card from your graveyard, special summon this card. If you control another Rescue Ace monster, quick effect, you can target 1 effect monster your opponent controls, Bokamoon it. Really good quick effect. Second effect is if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 of your banished Rescue Ace monsters except at level 8 and special summon it. So if you guys are familiar with my combo video, which I really hope you guys watch, and if you haven't watched it, pause the video and watch it and then come back to this one. He is really important because he is a free special summon. He is a free interruption as well, because most of the time when you get Preventer, you already have a card on the board as well, and then he is a free kind of like an extra body because he can climb into another thing as well. So playing 2 Preventer for the grind game is absolutely important in my opinion. And like I said before, with Impulse being able to summon out our Preventer, it basically prevents our opponents playing the game, because now Impulse becomes a very powerful hand trap in that regard. So 2 Preventer, really important. Then speaking of 2 ofs, we are going to be talking about 2 of Turbulence. Now Turbulence is, I would say, man, there's so many good cards in the deck. Like Hydrant's really good, Airlifter is really good. I would say Turbulence is like definitely top 3 cards of the deck for sure, because he says this: he's like, Conductor, you can banish 2 Rescue Ace cards from your graveyard, special summon this card from your hand. So again, he can be special summoned by other means, it's just that he has the ability to banish to summon him. During your main phase, you can set up to 4 Rescue Ace quick play spell traps, whatever from your deck with different names. And then if another card you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect, you can target 1 card on the field and destroy it. So that's like the other effect that's kind of underrated, and it's an effect that not a lot of people play around because it has 3k, so they're probably gonna be like, oh, I want to out this card before I out the Turbulence. So like you out a card, then Turbulence can trigger to pop a card, so he is really good in that regard. But anyways guys, now moving on from Turbulence, who is a really good card, we are going to be getting into the one-ofs. So this card is kind of a tech card. You guys can choose to play it or not. I'm playing Rescue Ace Fire Attacker because there's a specific combo that revolves around like opening one of these guys plus Fire Attacker. You're on a pretty decent board. I didn't showcase it just because I feel like it's kind of like up in the air for you guys to decide. But Rescue Ace Fire Attacker says this: if a Rescue Ace monster is normal or special summoned to your field except himself, of course, you can special summon this card from your hand. If a card is added to your opponent's hand except by drawing it, you can draw 2 cards, then discard 1. So he has the other effect as well. Now this card is one of those cards where you can absolutely cut it to play more engine cards, more non-engine cards, more consistency cards. In my opinion, because Fire Attacker is a free special summon, he is really good because then he gives you additional bodies on board if you want to push for like kind of a nastier combo. But of course, it's to each their own. Of course, this is just how I would play the deck, like except for all my decks are just kind of skeletons in and of themselves. But then moving on, we are going to be playing the one Rescue Ace Fire Engine. Now this is the reason why I'm saying that Fire Attacker isn't as good, is because Fire Engine has the exact same clause where it says if a Rescue Ace monster is normal or special summoned to your field except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. If a monster is special summoned to your opponent's field, you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower Rescue Ace monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard. Only use this effect once per turn. So now again, they each have their unique effects. So Fire Attacker says if your opponent adds a card, you can draw 2, discard 1, so it helps you dig deeper, consistency cards, things of that nature. And then Fire Engine has the effect where he says that you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower from your hand, deck, or graveyard, and then that can get into Impulse. Alternatively, Impulse can actually get into Fire Engine or Fire Attacker as well, so it gives you more targets. I just don't know how important Fire Attacker is. I just feel like for me personally, I think Fire Attacker is a pretty good card, but if you want to cut it, by all means you guys can cut it and just proceed to play depending on kind of what your hand is. But that's it for like the main core of the Rescue Ace cards. So again, we got the Hydrants and things of that nature. Now moving on into the OP cards, we're playing Triple Cashier Fenrir. Now this is probably the best non-engine card to play in every single deck. Hopefully Fenrir goes to 1, because the fact that you can special Fenrir, add Fenrir, and then literally threaten so many cards on the board is absolutely crazy. Like a lot of people just go special Fenrir, don't even use the effect, and they just start playing, and then when you're forced to interact, or when your opponent is forced to interact with you, Fenrir just banishes a card on the field. So he's really good in that regard. And I mean, this card has to go to 1. If Pankrop's at 1, Fenrir absolutely has to go to 1. But then moving on from Fenrir, we are going to be talking about Diabolista the Dark Witch. Now this card is another card that's going to be splashed in a lot of in a lot of decks. Sorry, I don't think it'll be splashed as much as Fenrir, but it still will be splashed. Again, she has the effect where she can send any card from hand or field to the graveyard, summon herself, and then start pushing out the engine. Like I said before, she's a lot better in this deck because now you have multiple copies of Hydrant. You have like 3 copies of Hydrant, and then herself, and then you have 3 more copies, and then you have the special summon card, so you have like 15 copies of Hydrant. So that's why I do understand the argument of cutting Hydrant, Fire Attacker, and fitting more non-engine cards. But again, I suggest that you guys should test before you end up playing it. But that's it for like the monster engine. Then we have triple Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, just because when the format is wide open, it's good to play Ash Blossom, and then when kind of the format starts getting more condensed, more figured out, we're getting into like YCS Indie, and then there's like a bunch of other YCSs as well, so the decks will be able to kind of shape up if you want to play Droll, Ghost Spell, things of that nature. But then moving on to these spell cards, of course we are rocking Triple Pot of Prosperity. This is another card that needs to get hit to 1. Every pot card has been hit to 1. Konami, what do you think about Pot of Prosperity? Every deck is playing this card that can play it. So Pot of Prosperity and Fenrir need to go, but I mean, that's for a different video. But Triple Pot of Prosperity, there's not much to say. This deck kind of is a toolbox, so you can kind of pick and choose what it goes into. So having Prosperity is really good. Being able to banish 3 or 6 and digging into the cards you need is nice. Then we're playing the 3 E-Telly, so Emergency. This card says this. This card is always treated as a Rescue Ace card, so it's really good. Press summon 1 Rescue Ace monster from your deck in defense position. Note, very important that it must summon in defense position, then tribute 1 Rescue Ace monster from your hand or field. So I mean, if you do have an additional Rescue Ace monster in your hand, you can absolutely use that card to tribute it. During main phase, you can banish this card, target 1 Rescue Ace trap in your game to set it, so you have multiple ways of recurring your 1 of trap card. So then moving on to the other spells, we got the 1 Rescue and the 1 Alert. Now Rescue says this, like I said before in my combo video, click it, target 1 Rescue Ace monster in your graveyard, or if you control Rescue Ace monster, 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard. So again, it's like a Shark Cannon, and there's no restriction on the monster you summon. So if you like steal your opponent's Macabre, steal your opponent's Dragon Buster, steal your opponent's, I don't know, good card Conductor, you can pop in and book it, so it's really good. It can still attack directly as well. So again, the 1 Rescue, then we play the 1 Alert as well. Like I said before, Alert is add 1 Rescue Ace monster from your graveyard to your hand, or if you control Hydrant, add it from your deck to your hand, because why not? And the reason why we play all these cards at 1 of is because Rescue Ace HQ, which is a 1 of, while your opponent controls a monster, all Rescue Ace monster your opponent control gain 500 attack and defense. During your main phase, you get an additional normal summon of a Rescue Ace monster, and then once per turn, target 4 of your Rescue Ace cards that are in your graveyard and or banished, shuffle them into the deck, then draw 4, or draw 1, sorry, oh my god, draw 4 would have been crazy, but then draw 1. Now the reason why I'm saying that is because Turbulence will banish cards, and then Preventer can reborn a card, and then say for example you have HQ can shuffle all the cards that kind of you use, and then Turbulence will be able to reset all the cards and continue playing. So it is really good, and that's why I was saying that this deck can get away by playing with one-ofs and little cheeky little cards like that. So it's really good, especially when like you use Emergency to banish to reset a trap, and then use Rescue Ace to shuffle them all back. So it is really good. And then moving on from there, we are playing triple Hunter Fiend. So again, the quick play card, add the Belstar, keep playing, really good in that regard. And then we are playing the 1 Sinful Soul Snake Eye as well. Again, the engine is always going to be 1, 1, and 3. And then we have the 1 Rhoda to get into our Airlifter because more consistency. Then we have triple Tactics, Talents. And then rounded off, we have the Trap card. So the 1 Contain, which is going to be target 1 effect monster your opponent controls, negated, Fiendish Chain. And then if you have the guy, you know material as well. And then this Extinguish, where it's target, pop a card. And then if you have Hydrant, it can't float. So that rounds off the main deck at a solid 40. I think control decks, it's really important to play 40 or mid-range decks. And again, like I said, for all, you can get away by playing all these one-ofs because you have this card that can constantly shuffle them all back. So then moving on to the tech choices, there's an Ibly combo that's pretty nice. It revolves around like using Link Devotee and then like tributing cards again, Ibly, and locking our opponent out. And we can use B-Cop to go ahead and protect the Ibly. Depending on the way the format kind of resolves and everything, you're gonna probably want to play Ibly. I mean, this card needs to also get banned, but to each your own, you know what I mean. And then we have the 1 Dark the Dark Charmer, Gloomy, because it is really easy to make this card with the Belstar, with Linkribo, things of that nature. Then we also have the Unicorn, of course, because we want to get into our IP Masquerade plays and things of that nature. Then we have the 1 Firewall, Dragon, Dark Fluid, Neo, Tempest, Teraherc. Now this card's really good because there's the whole combo around it that like you set up in the gate. So if you guys want to play this variant, you can. This definitely becomes the more intense combo variant. I don't think that this deck needs to be playing all that stuff, especially when you have like access to like Jet Synchron, things of that nature. But again, speaking of Jet Synchron, there is the Jet Synchron. If you want, what you can do is you can probably cut Hydrant down here and then put Jet Synchron up like this, because now it just makes us you have more other versatile cards and things of that nature. I just want to check if Impulse could summon them, but he can. I don't know why I even checked that, but then you can play the 1 Jet Synchron. But then moving on, let me just put this card back here. Then of course you guys saw we have the 1 Triple Tactics Thrust. So now the reason I have this card here is like if you wanted to play more non-engine, you could definitely cut Fire Attacker and the Hydrant and then play like 2 Thrust, 3 Thrust, like 1 Talents, and then 1 whatever. So it's really good. So the 1 Linkribo going second, it is going to be very powerful. But that's it for like the side deck choice or the tech choices. Now we're quickly going to get into the extra deck. So again, the 1 Linkribo, like I said before, Linkribo is very important in what he does. Being able to go into a Dark Monster, being able to go into this, being able to work very well with Jet Synchron, being able to get us in the gate, he's really good. Then going second, we have Relinquish Anima. If people do not play around Anima, we can punish them by going Hydrant into Anima to stop it. Then another card we can play is the 1 SP Little Knight. This card's crazy. This deck actually probably plays 2 because of how easy it is to make it, which is nonsense. We have the 1 Sunlight Wolf, the 1 IP to go into the SP, or it can go into the Nightmare Unicorn. I just realized that it's SP IP. Then we have the 1 Proxy F, like I said before, to go into the Mud Dragon for the free Dweller play. Then we have the 1 Hita, which is absolutely vital in this deck, being able to reborn and then start link climbing into like what do you call it, the SP. So that's why I was saying Dark is really good as well. We have the 1 Heat Soul, very important, just kind of like to be able to end on a nice little resourceful loop, so it is really good. Access code, just because access code, like if you have Heat Soul or you have like Unicorn or something, and climbing the access code is very easy. 1 Goddess, because you want to be able to out God Charles or Pearly and anything like that. Then we have the 1 Abyss Dweller as well. 1 Mud Dragon, like I said, for to work with the Proxy F Magician. We have the Savage and the Baron. If you guys want to main deck it, you can do this for sure. I'll just say let's just do that. And then yeah, so then we have the 1 Baron and the 1 Savage for just like kind of total ponage. And then we have the 1 Doomstar. So again, like I said before, this deck is a very toolbox card. You guys can see that there aren't a lot of cards that this deck really needs to pop off, as you guys saw in my comp video again for the 5th time. So again, there is that. Personally, what you can do is as well is you can cut the Fire Attacker and you can cut this here like this, and you can play Triple Thrust like this. So you can play Triple Thrust in the main like this, right? And then what you also can do is you could probably get away with playing 1 Impulse, and then you could play the 3rd Thrust. Where's this guy? The 3rd Thrust, and then you can play the 1 Herald, because like people just like playing this card because like it's a main deck out to Pearly. So then you could do this and you can take it out to play like that. But anyways, guys, that was it for my video. If you guys have any comments or concerns or just anything to add on, please let me know by commenting down below, guys. Again, if you guys enjoyed the video, like the video, and of course subscribe if you have not already, because we're absolutely trying to turn up the Yu-Gi-Oh scene. But my name's Samson, like I always say, guys, keep on shining, never end your dreams. Peace.